The metal walls of the U.S. Retribution hummed with power as Captain David Cooper stood at the bridge's main viewport. His weathered hands gripped the railing while he watched Earth grow smaller in the distance. The blue planet, once humanity's only home, now looked fragile under the swarm of alien ships that circled it like hungry vultures. "Status report," Cooper called out, his voice steady despite the weight pressing down on his shoulders. First Officer Lisa Martinez looked up from her screen, her dark eyes reflecting the red warning lights that flashed across the bridge. "The Nexus Coalition fleet has destroyed our outer defense line, sir. Luna Base is gone." She paused, swallowing hard. "We're the last battleship Earth has left." Cooper nodded slowly. He'd known this day would come ever since the aliens had first appeared 3 years ago. The Nexus Coalition, with their superior technology and overwhelming numbers, had crushed humanity's outer colonies one by one. Now they were here for Earth itself. But the U.S. Retribution wasn't running away. Hidden deep within its armored hull, the ship carried humanity's final card to play: the Void Drive. Chief Engineer Amy Parker had helped build it, a weapon that could create artificial black holes. It was untested, dangerous, and possibly their only hope for survival. Captain, called Robert Wilson from his navigation station, his young face looking older under the harsh bridge lights. "High Command's final orders are coming through." The bridge fell silent as Cooper read the message. His face remained calm, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped the railing harder. "They want us to take the fight to their home," he announced. "A one-way trip to the galactic core." Lisa Martinez pulled up the star charts, her fingers flying over the controls. "That's suicide, sir. The core is the most heavily defended region in the galaxy. It's where the Coalition leadership lives." "Exactly why we're going there," Cooper replied. He turned to face his crew, seeing the mix of fear and determination in their eyes. "The Void Drive is powerful enough to tear apart the fabric of space itself. If we're going down, we're taking their leadership with us." Amy Parker's voice crackled over the intercom from engineering. "Captain, I've finished the final checks on the Void Drive. It's stable, for now. But I have to warn you, we've never run it at full power. The simulations suggest it could create a chain reaction of black holes." "Good," Cooper said grimly. "That's exactly what we need." As the crew prepared for their mission, Lisa Martinez discovered something on her terminal that made her blood run cold. She pulled up classified files about the Nexus Coalition, documents that had been hidden away until now. "Captain," she called out, her voice shaking slightly. "You need to see this." Cooper moved to her station, reading the data with growing horror. The Coalition wasn't just trying to conquer Earth. They were systematically harvesting the life force of entire civilizations, using stolen souls to power their technologies. Earth wasn't their first target, and it wouldn't be their last. "They're not just conquerors," Lisa whispered. "They're parasites. They've done this to dozens of worlds before us." Cooper straightened up, his jaw set firmly. "Then we'll be the last world they ever threaten." He turned to address the whole bridge. "Listen up, crew. What we carry isn't just a weapon, it's justice. The Coalition thinks they can consume entire civilizations without consequences. They're about to learn that humanity doesn't die quietly." He walked back to the viewport, watching as the Retribution's engines powered up to full strength. Behind them, Earth's sun grew dimmer as they prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. "Plot a course for the galactic core," Cooper ordered. "We'll use the chaos of their invasion as cover. While their fleet is busy with Earth, we're going to slip through their defenses and hit them where they live." The massive battleship turned gracefully in space, its black hull absorbing nearby light. As the faster-than-light drive spun up, Cooper said a silent prayer for Earth. The Retribution might not survive this mission, but if they succeeded, humanity would have its revenge. "All hands," Cooper announced shipwide, "prepare for FTL jump. We're going to show the Coalition why you should never corner a human being. Remember Earth." The stars stretched into lines of light as the Retribution leaped into hyperspace. carrying its crew and its deadly cargo toward humanity's date with destiny. The U.S. Retribution slipped through space like a ghost. Its special stealth systems, designed by humanity's best engineers, kept it hidden from the Nexus Coalition's patrol ships. Navigation Officer Robert Wilson sat at his console, carefully plotting their course through a field of dying stars. "These stars shouldn't be dying," Robert said, pointing to his screen. "They're too young. Something's draining them." Captain Cooper leaned over to look at the data. Around them, the bridge hummed quietly as the ship moved through enemy space. "The Coalition's work." "Has to be," Robert replied. "They're harvesting the star's energy, just like they tried to do to our sun." In engineering, Chief Engineer Amy Parker worked frantically on the void drive. The machine took up 3 decks of the ship, its core pulsing with dark energy. Warning lights flashed as another power spike hit the systems. "Come on, you beautiful monster," Amy muttered, her hands flying over the controls. "Stay stable for me." She had helped build the void drive, but even she didn't fully understand its power. The device wasn't meant to run this long, and its energy readings were getting stranger by the hour. The ship's intercom crackled. "Engineering, this is the bridge. We're picking up a distress signal." Amy looked up from her work. "Captain, the void drive isn't stable enough for combat. If we stop, we have to check it out." Captain Cooper's voice was firm. "It might give us intelligence we need." The Retribution changed course, slowly, approaching what looked like a damaged alien ship. It was smaller than their battleship, its hull torn open in several places. First Officer Lisa Martinez ran scans of the vessel. "No life signs," she reported, "but the ship's computer might still work." Captain Cooper gathered a small team: himself, Lisa, and Daniel White, their weapons specialist. They put on spacesuits and crossed the void between ships. Their magnetic boots clanked against the alien vessel's hull as they entered through a breach. Inside, they found something unexpected. The ship's walls were covered in strange markings, and its computer cores were still intact. Lisa connected their translation software and began downloading data. "Captain," she called out, her voice tense, "you need to see this. These aren't Coalition ships. They're their victims. This was a refugee vessel." The data showed horrifying images. The Coalition wasn't just building weapons at the galactic core. They were constructing something massive, something that would let them harvest the energy of every living thing in the galaxy at once. Daniel White examined the ship's weapon systems. These people tried to fight back. Their weapons were good, but he gestured at the destroyed ship around them. Not good enough. A sudden alarm blared in their suits. "Coalition patrol ships incoming." Robert's voice came through their comms. 3 minutes until they're in range." The team rushed back to the Retribution, barely making it before the patrol arrived. Amy fired up the engines, praying the void drive would hold together. The battleship's stealth systems activated just as the Coalition ships appeared. The massive alien vessels passed by slowly, their scanning beams sweeping the area. Inside the Retribution, everyone held their breath. One scan beam passed right through their location. "The stealth tech is holding," Lisa whispered, watching the enemy ships on their screens. "They can't see us." After what felt like hours, the Coalition patrol moved on. The crew of the Retribution let out a collective sigh of relief. But their discovery had changed everything. "The data we found," Lisa said, showing the decoded files to Captain Cooper. "The Coalition's building something called the Nexus Gate at the galactic core. Once it's finished, they'll be able to drain the life force from every living thing in the galaxy, all at once." Cooper's face hardened. "Then we have less time than we thought." "How long until the Nexus Gate is operational?" "Based on these files, 2 weeks at most." The captain nodded grimly. "Then we have 2 weeks to reach the core and destroy it. Robert, plot us the fastest course through Coalition space. Amy, I need the void drive ready for what's coming." "What if we don't make it in time?" Daniel asked, voicing everyone's fear. Cooper looked out at the stars. some already dimming from the Coalition's hunger. That's not an option. Humanity dies if we fail, and we're taking a lot of innocent species with us. We make it, or we die trying. The Retribution turned toward the galactic core, its engines pushing to full power. Behind them, the dead refugee ship floated in space, a grim reminder of what waited if they failed. Intelligence Officer Karen Foster hadn't slept in 2 days. Her eyes were red as she stared at the alien transmissions flowing across her screen. The U.S. Retribution's computers had been picking up more and more Coalition communications as they got closer to the galactic core. "I got something," she called out, breaking the quiet on the bridge. "They're not just taking energy from stars anymore. They're eating them." Captain Cooper walked to her station. "Explain." Karen pulled up a series of images on the main screen. They showed Coalition ships surrounding stars, their massive machines draining them until they turned black and cold. They've already destroyed 57 star systems this month alone. All those planets, all that life. Lisa Martinez shook her head in horror. Gone in an instant. The bridge crew watched as Karen played a recording of a star dying. The beautiful yellow sun turned gray, then black, then vanished completely. The Coalition ships moved on to their next target like hungry locusts. Suddenly, Robert Wilson called out from his navigation station. "Captain, we're picking up wreckage ahead. It's everywhere." The Retribution slowed as they entered a massive debris field. Pieces of ships and stations floated in the emptiness of space. But these weren't Coalition vessels. They were the remains of other civilizations that had tried to fight back. "My God," Brian Hughes, their strategic officer, whispered. "This must have been an entire fleet." He studied the wreckage patterns on his tactical display. They made their last stand here, tried to stop the Coalition from reaching their homeworld. Amy Parker's voice came over the intercom from engineering. "Captain, I'm getting strange readings from the void drive. It's reacting to something out there." Cooper ordered the ship to stop. "What kind of readings?" "It's like the drive is resonating with the dead ships, almost like it recognizes something in their technology." Brian Hughes' eyes lit up. "The star-eating technology. What if we could use it against them?" He turned to Cooper. "The Coalition uses this energy to power their weapons. But what if we could reverse it?" Karen Foster was already digging through the alien transmissions. He might be right. "Look at this." She showed them decoded blueprints of Coalition technology. Their ships store the stolen energy in special chambers. If we could overload those chambers, we could turn their own weapons against them. Cooper finished. He turned to Amy. "Could we modify the void drive to trigger their energy storage?" "Maybe," Amy replied. "But we'd need more data about their systems." As if answering their need, new signals appeared on their radar. A small fleet of ships was approaching, but they weren't Coalition vessels. These were different, moving erratically like they were trying to hide. "Captain," Lisa called out. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies. It's a resistance message." The message was simple. "To all who fight the Coalition, you are not alone." Cooper made a decision. "Open a channel," he ordered. "But be ready to run if this is a trap." The screen lit up showing aliens of different species. Their leader, a tall being with silvery skin, spoke in a translated voice. "We are the last alliance. We have watched your ship's journey. You carry a weapon unlike anything we've seen. We're hunting the Coalition." Cooper replied simply. "They attacked our world." The alien leader nodded sadly. "They attack all worlds. We are the survivors, the last of our kinds. We have been gathering intelligence, waiting for a chance to strike back." Brian Hughes stepped forward. "We think we can turn their star-eating technology against them. But we need more information about their systems." "We can help," the alien leader said. "We have spies inside their territory, but why should we trust you?" Cooper gestured to the dead ships around them. "Because like you, we have nothing left to lose. Earth will die if we fail. And we're done watching worlds burn." The resistance leader was quiet for a moment, then nodded. Very well. We will share what we know. But be warned, there is a darkness at the galaxy's heart that even we don't fully understand. As the resistance ships docked with the Retribution, Karen Foster intercepted a new Coalition transmission. Her face went pale as she decoded it. "Captain," she said quietly, "they're not just building the Nexus Gate to harvest energy. They're building it to reshape reality itself. They want to remake the entire galaxy in their image." Cooper looked out at the graveyard of ships around them, monuments to civilizations that had already fallen. "Then we better make sure we stop them," he said, "because I'll die before I let them reshape humanity." The Retribution's crew began working with their new allies, preparing for the greatest battle of their lives. Time was running out, but for the first time since leaving Earth, they had hope. The U.S. Retribution's hangar bay was crowded with aliens from the Resistance fleet. Daniel White, the weapons specialist, stood beside Captain Cooper as they watched the newcomers share their intelligence about Coalition defenses. "Can we trust them?" Daniel asked quietly, his hand never far from his weapon. "We don't have a choice," Cooper replied. "We need their help to get past the Coalition's inner defenses." In the ship's main workshop, Daniel worked with the Resistance fighters to modify the Void Drive. Their alien allies brought strange tools and technologies that humanity had never seen before. Amy Parker watched carefully as they worked on her precious engine. "Careful with that connection," she warned a tall, insect-like alien. "One wrong move and you'll blow up half the ship." The alien clicked its mandibles in what might have been a laugh. "We've been fighting the Coalition for decades. We know what we're doing." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Coalition fleet detected." Robert Wilson's voice echoed over the intercom. "They're attacking a nearby solar system." Captain Cooper rushed to the bridge, the rest of the crew following quickly. On the main screen, they watched in horror as 3 Coalition dreadnoughts surrounded a yellow star. The star's planets were still inhabited. Sensors showed billions of life forms. "They're going to harvest the whole system," Lisa Martinez said, her voice shaking. "All those people." Cooper gripped his chair. They had strict orders to avoid detection, to save their weapon for the final strike at the galactic core. But could they watch another civilization die? Captain Brian Hughes spoke up from Tactical. "The Void Drive modifications are only half complete. If we engage now, we can't just watch them die." Cooper cut him off. He turned to the Resistance leader on the screen. "Can your ships help us?" The alien commander nodded. "We will fight with you. But know this, if we reveal ourselves now, we risk everything." Cooper made his decision. "Launch all ships. Target the Coalition dreadnoughts. We save these people or die trying." The battle was fierce. The Retribution and the Resistance fleet emerged from hiding, catching the Coalition ships by surprise. Daniel White's modified weapons worked better than expected, their energy beams cutting through Coalition shields. "Their energy storage chambers are overloading," Karen Foster called out from her station. "The modifications are working." One Coalition dreadnought exploded in a burst of stolen stellar energy, but the other 2 turned to face their attackers, their massive weapons charging. "Evasive maneuvers," Cooper ordered. The Retribution rolled and dove, barely avoiding the enemy's return fire. The Resistance ships swarmed around the Coalition vessels like angry bees, their smaller size making them hard to hit. But the Coalition's weapons were devastating. One by one, Resistance ships exploded into space. "We're losing too many," Lisa shouted over the chaos. Just then, Amy's voice came over the comm. "Captain, the Void Drive is destabilizing from the battle damage. We need to withdraw." Cooper knew they couldn't win this fight. Not yet. "All ships, retreat. Get us out of here." The surviving ships jumped to safety, leaving the Coalition dreadnoughts behind. They had saved the star system, but at a terrible cost. Half the Resistance fleet was destroyed. Back on the Retribution, Cooper met with the surviving Resistance leaders. The mood was grim. "We lost many good fighters today," the alien commander said. "But we also learned something important. Your void drive technology can hurt them. For the first time in centuries, we have hope." But their victory was short-lived. Karen Foster burst into the meeting room, her face pale. "Captain, we have a problem. I've detected encoded transmissions from inside our fleet to the Coalition." The room fell silent. Cooper's voice was hard when he spoke. "We have a traitor." "Worse," Karen said. "The transmissions contain details about the void drive. The Coalition knows what we're planning." The resistance leaders looked at each other in suspicion. Decades of fighting had taught them that the Coalition was good at planting spies. "Find the traitor," Cooper ordered. "We've come too far to fail now. Check everyone, human and alien alike." As the witch hunt began, Cooper stared out at the stars. The Coalition now knew they were coming. The element of surprise was gone. But they had no choice but to continue. Somewhere ahead lay the Galactic Core and their date with destiny. "Security teams to all decks," he announced shipwide. "Trust no one until we find the traitor. The fate of every free species in the galaxy depends on us now." The Galactic Core blazed ahead of the U.S. Retribution like a sea of fire. Countless stars packed tightly together created a view that took everyone's breath away. But in the middle of this natural wonder, they saw something that wasn't supposed to be there. "My God," Robert Wilson whispered from his navigation station. "It's bigger than anything we've ever seen." A massive structure floated in the core's heart. It was made of dark metal and looked like a giant ring, big enough to circle an entire star system. Coalition ships swarmed around it like bees around a hive. "The Nexus Gate," Captain Cooper said grimly. "Their superweapon." Chief Medical Officer Mary Peterson worked frantically in the medical bay below. The battle that brought them here had left many resistance fighters wounded. Her hands moved quickly as she treated a young alien warrior with burn wounds. "Stay still," she told the injured fighter. "You'll live to fight another day." The ship's intercom crackled. "Medical Bay, this is the bridge. Dr. Peterson, we need you up here. Now." When Mary reached the bridge, she found the crew staring at detailed scans of the Nexus Gate. The images made her stomach turn. "Those aren't just power cores," she said, pointing at strange patterns in the structure. "Those are holding cells. They're keeping people alive in there, feeding off their life force." Lisa Martinez checked the readings. Millions of them, all being drained slowly to power that thing. "Can we save them?" Cooper asked. Mary studied the scans. "If we shut down the power systems carefully, maybe. But if we just blow it up, they all die," Cooper finished. The weight of command felt heavier than ever on his shoulders. Suddenly, Karen Foster's console lit up with alerts. "Captain, I've found the traitor's signal. It's coming from..." She paused, shocked. "It's coming from the Resistance leader's ship." The Resistance commander they trusted, the one who had fought beside them, was sending data to the Coalition. Not just any data, detailed scans of the void drive. Cooper's voice was cold. "Open a channel to their ship." The alien commander's face appeared on screen, but something was wrong. His eyes were different, empty, glowing with a strange light. "You're too late," the commander said, but his voice had changed. It wasn't his anymore. "The Coalition doesn't just take energy. We take minds, bodies. This one has served us well." Horror spread through the bridge crew as they realized the truth. The Coalition hadn't just planted a spy. They'd taken over their ally's mind completely. "Shoot them down," Cooper ordered, his heart heavy. The Retribution's guns fired once. The Resistance leader's ship exploded silently in space, but the damage was done. Alarms blared as Coalition ships began moving toward them. "They're powering up the Nexus Gate," Brian Hughes shouted from Tactical. "Energy readings are off the charts." Amy's voice came over the comm from Engineering. "Captain, the void drive is ready. But we got one shot at this. If we miss, "We won't miss," Cooper said. He looked at his crew. Humans who had come so far, fought so hard. This ends today. The Retribution moved forward, its black hull reflecting the light of 1,000,000 stars. Behind them, the surviving resistance ships formed up for one final battle. "All hands," Hooper's voice echoed through the ship. "This is it. Everything we've lost, everyone we've left behind. It all comes down to this moment. The Coalition thinks they can reshape the galaxy, drain the life from every living thing. We're here to prove them wrong." Mary Peterson looked at the medical readings from the Nexus Gate again. "All those prisoners. Captain, if we do this wrong, we'll kill them all. And if we do nothing, the Coalition kills everyone else," Cooper replied. "Sometimes there are no good choices, just necessary ones." The Coalition fleet approached, thousands of ships strong. The Nexus Gate began to pulse with stolen energy, preparing to fire its galaxy-changing weapon. "Weapons ready," Daniel White reported. "Void drive at maximum power." Cooper took one last look at the massive structure ahead, thinking of Earth, of all the worlds that had already fallen. They had one chance to save what was left of the galaxy. "All ships, battle formations," he ordered. "We end this. For Earth. For everyone." The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. Space erupted into chaos as the greatest battle in galactic history began. The U.S. Retribution led the charge, its black hull cutting through waves of Coalition ships. Behind it, the surviving Resistance fleet spread out in attack formation. Enemy ships closing from all sides. Brian Hughes called from tactical. "They're trying to box us in." Captain Cooper stood calm at the center of his bridge. "Robert, take us straight at their flagship. Daniel, target their energy storage chambers." The Retribution's engines roared as it accelerated. Coalition energy beams filled space with deadly light, but Robert Wilson's skilled piloting kept them alive. The ship shook with each near miss. "First wave of fighters, incoming," Lisa Martins warned. Daniel White's fingers flew over his weapons console. The Retribution's guns blazed, destroying several Coalition fighters. But more kept coming. "We're not going to make it through their lines," Lisa said, gripping her console as another blast rocked the ship. "We're going to make it," Cooper replied firmly. "Amy, give us everything the engines have." In engineering, Amy Parker worked frantically to keep the ship's systems running. The void drive hummed dangerously behind her, its power growing unstable. "The drive can't take much more," she reported. "We're pushing it past all safety limits." Suddenly, a massive explosion lit up space. One of the Resistance ships had rammed a Coalition cruiser, destroying both vessels. "They're sacrificing themselves to clear us a path," Karen Foster shouted, watching the battle unfold on her screens. The gap in the Coalition lines wouldn't last long. Cooper knew this was their only chance. "All power to forward shields," he ordered. "Take us through." The Retribution plunged through the explosion's debris field. Coalition ships fired desperately, trying to stop them. The ship's shields flickered as they absorbed hit after hit. "Hull breach on Deck 4. Mary Peterson reported from Medical Bay. "We've got wounded down here. Seal those sections," Cooper commanded. "Keep pushing forward." They were getting closer to the Nexus Gate now. Its massive ring structure filled their view screens. But the Coalition's flagship moved to block their path, a vessel 3 times their size. "Their flagship is charging its main weapon," Brian warned. "Brace for impact," Cooper shouted. The Coalition flagship fired. A beam of pure stellar energy, stolen from 1,000 dead suns, struck the Retribution head-on. The ship's shields crackled and failed. "Direct hit," Lissa yelled over the sound of tearing metal. "We've lost main shields." But they weren't dead yet. The Retribution's special hull armor, designed to channel energy, had saved them. They were damaged, but still fighting. "Return fire, all weapons," Cooper ordered. The Retribution's guns roared one last time. Their modified weapons, designed to overload Coalition energy storage, struck true. The massive flagship's engines began to explode, one after another. "Their flagship is going down," Daniel reported triumphantly. "Path to the Nexus Gate is clear." But victory had cost them dearly. Half the bridge stations were dark. Smoke filled several decks. The Resistance fleet was almost gone, its brave ships sacrificed to get them this far. "Amy," Cooper called to engineering. "Status of the Void Drive." There was a pause before Amy's voice came back, thick with worry. "It's critical, Captain. The containment field is failing. We've got maybe 5 minutes before it goes completely unstable." "That's all we need," Cooper said. He looked at his surviving crew, seeing the determination in their tired faces. "Plot final approach to the Nexus Gate. Prepare to deliver our payload." The Retribution limped forward, its hull scared and burning. Behind them, the Coalition flagship exploded in a massive fireball. Ahead lay the Nexus Gate, their final target. "Coalition ships regrouping," Brian reported. "They're coming around for another attack." "They're too late," Cooper said quietly. "We're already where we need to be." The Retribution took up position near the Nexus Gate's main power core. Coalition ships raced toward them, desperate to stop what was coming. "Amy," Cooper said into the comm. "Start the Void Drive overload sequence. It's time to show them why you don't mess with humanity." The drive's warning sirens echoed through the ship as Amy began the final countdown. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as the Void Drive's power levels climbed toward the point of no return. Time had run out for the Coalition. Their judgment day had arrived. The Void Drive's scream filled the U.S. Retribution as its power reached critical levels. Captain Cooper stood at his command post, watching as Coalition ships surrounded them in a desperate last attempt to stop what was coming. Void Drive at maximum overload. Amy Parker's voice crackled through the failing comm system. "Containment fields are breaking down. 2 minutes until total collapse." Lisa Martinez worked quickly at her damaged console. "Captain, I'm detecting power surges in the Nexus Gate. They're trying to activate it early." "Not this time," Cooper said. He opened a channel to the Coalition flagship. "This is Captain David Cooper of Earth. You should have left us alone." The Coalition leader appeared on their cracked view screen. Its alien face showed no emotion as it spoke. "You cannot stop evolution, human. We will reshape this galaxy as we see fit." "No," Cooper replied. "You'll just die here." He nodded to Daniel White. Their weapons officer pressed the final sequence of buttons, and the Retribution's modified guns fired directly into the Nexus Gate's power core. The shots carried energy that matched the Coalition's own stolen power signature. "Direct hit," Daniel shouted. "Their power core is destabilizing." The massive ring structure of the Nexus Gate began to crack. Energy leaked from its wounded shell, creating strange patterns in space. But the Coalition wasn't finished. Their ships opened fire from all directions. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Brian Hughes reported as the ship shook. "We're losing life support." In the medical bay, Mary Peterson worked frantically to save the wounded. "We need more time." She called to the bridge. "I have people dying down here." 30 seconds until Void Drive collapse, Amy's voice warned. "Captain, it's been an honor." Cooper looked at his brave crew. They had come so far, fought so hard. Now it was time for the final act. "Launch all escape pods," he ordered. "Everyone who can move, get to evacuation stations now." "What about the prisoners in the Nexus Gate?" Lisa asked, remembering the millions trapped inside. "Their containment cells are breaking down," Karen Foster reported, checking her readings. "The system it's releasing them." Through the view screen, they watched in awe as streams of energy poured from the breaking Nexus Gate. But these weren't just energy. They were souls, life forces returning to freedom. 15 seconds. Amy called. "All hands, abandon ship." Cooper ordered. "Get clear of the blast radius." Escape pods launched from the Retribution sides, carrying wounded crew members and remaining resistance fighters. Coalition ships were too busy trying to save their precious gate to stop them. "Captain, we need to go," Lisa shouted, but Cooper shook his head. "Someone has to make sure this works. Get to your pod, First Officer." "That's an order." The bridge crew hesitated for one moment, then ran for the escape pods. All except Cooper, who stayed at his post, and Amy in engineering, who was still working to control the void drive's collapse. 5 seconds. Amy called. "Captain, tell Earth we did it." "We did it, Amy. We did it." The void drive detonated. The explosion started small, a point of absolute darkness in the Retribution's heart. Then it grew, creating a chain reaction of artificial black holes. The closest coalition ships were torn apart instantly. The Nexus Gate, already damaged, began to break up. Its pieces were pulled into the growing void, along with hundreds of coalition ships. The space around the galactic core twisted and bent as multiple black holes formed and merged. From their escape pods, the surviving crew watched their ship disappear into the darkness. The Coalition's mighty fleet was being devoured by the very forces they had tried to control. The Nexus Gate, their instrument of galactic domination, collapsed in on itself. 3 days later, a resistance ship found the survivors. They had good news. Coalition forces across the galaxy were in chaos. Without their leadership and the Nexus Gate, their empire was falling apart. The species they had enslaved were breaking free. Lisa Martinez stood on the rescue ship's bridge, watching the changed space where the galactic core used to be. The Coalition's mighty weapons, their stolen power, their dreams of reshaping reality. All of it was gone, sucked into a cluster of black holes that would take millennia to settle. "Captain Cooper and Amy Parker gave their lives to save us all," she told the gathered survivors. "They showed the galaxy that humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. We fight back." She looked out at the stars. Free stars now, that would keep burning for billions of years to come. "Let the galaxy remember," she said quietly. "This is what happens when you threaten Earth. We don't just fight. We bring the darkness itself to your door." The rescue ship turned and headed for home. Behind them, at the galaxy's heart, the black holes danced, a permanent monument to humanity's vengeance.